Alright. Hey kids. What's up? So I did fix up my mic a little bit. By fix up, I mean I like messed with the settings. I like YouTube, the settings on how to like change, make it sound a little bit better. So uh, I have to be like super close to it anyway. But I noticed that a lot of the times when I was like talking, it can like cut in and out, or it might not like hear you guys. So I was trying to put like limiters and like all this other stuff on it, but that doesn't really matter. What matters right now is what what should we kind of do today. So we did last time we did, a little bit of the plan. We did some of the book outline. Let's just kind of recap and remember, because I wrote this last Saturday and next Saturday now. I want to do this daily, but right now I'm giving myself like a minimum of at least once a week. So eventually, I want to start pumping out more of these, just because like I want to write more of it, and it takes a long time to do these videos and write, but it at least kind of helps with the writing process, because like I'll like forget what the plan was or what I said. So at least this kind of helps me have the ability to go back to see what I was thinking when I first had that initial thought of what that character is supposed to progress, or how the story was supposed to go. So this way I kind of have like just to see my mindset in the moment, and then later on when I do go back, I can, you know, tweak or change or whatever the case is. But I do think we're going to be the more I've thought about this, as we're like progressing, I thought, okay, maybe outline will take me 3 months, because when I was like doing my outlining, I was more for the book that I'm writing like by myself. Uh, the, the first actual book, that book, um, I've only written like 20. Actually, let me look how much I've written. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that much. It was around. Where is it? It's the outline. I think this is the book one. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Chapter one. It looks like I'm at 15,000 words. So 15,000 words for that. That's taken me an embarrassingly long time to do 15,000 words. But that's over the span of like 2-3 years, and me writing like once a month, maybe once every. Sometimes sporadically I'll write twice a month, but most of the time it's like once every other month. This one I want to like write more and actually finish it. That one, the first book is gonna take me, for a really long time. But now that I've kind of assessed how long it took me to write those 10,000 words or whatever, I think that, and the problem I had was that I didn't know how to flesh out certain characters. I didn't know how to flesh out some of the scenes. I did like a Spark Note version of every chapter, because I did the outline, and then I did like a bigger version of the outline, but still like an outline. And then I started putting scenes in every single chapter. And then I did like for 3 chapters, I started setting up the scene, but I didn't have any of the communication. So it was like a lot of like setup, and it's supposed to be dialogue, setup, dialogue. And, I wasn't very descriptive with the placing. That one was more, it was less, I don't want to say imagination focused, but it was less like sci-fi. It was less, fantasy. It was more grounded in reality. So I didn't think I needed to do a lot of like explanation or extrapolation, or any type of expanding of the setting, because it's like real world. But then I was like, well, why not? Like, why wouldn't I expand on those settings? So that was like just a thought of me while I was reading what I was like, typing back then. Um, Now, like I said, I thought about it, and it'll probably take me closer to, like a year, maybe 2 years. It's because I'm slow and this is the first book, I don't really have a method. I don't have like a way to pump these out yet. And right now it's a lot of uh, figuring out as we go, and it's been hard, but yeah. So because we have to go over the setting, we have to like expand the setting, then we have to expand the characters, then we have to expand their motives, and we have multiple families, we have multiple factions. Each one of those families, are gonna have at least one or two, three characters that we need to somewhat expand, talk about their motives, why they're doing certain things, and they're gonna have their own little subplot line. It's basically, fucking Game of Thrones. Like if you read a Game of Thrones book, or even if you just watch the show, I think I read like one book. I read one book and then like part of the second book. Then I just like started watching the show, or I watched the first season, and uh, while waiting on the second season, I was like, well, I'll read the first book. I read the first book, long as fuck, a bunch of shit on it, and as like I don't I think I was like 18. I'm still somewhat of a teenager. Didn't really have the mental capacity to read any more books than what the school was giving me. Um, but I tried to change that. I tried to like read more books, and that's what I should be doing now. I should be reading more books now. I've tried to read like at least 5 books a year. It's not that much, but I do want to expand that more. And recently, in the past like 2 3 years, I stopped reading um, science fiction books and fantasy books, and started reading more about like, because I have like a corporate job, so reading more about like corporate stuff and negotiations and mergers, acquisitions, and different types of like contract law, like that type of stuff that I've been reading, and that has been boring, like, terrible, just reading this stuff. Because I guess I could eventually someday write a book about someone in their struggles with corporate America, and that would be very useful, and that would be me front loading the research, like actually living it, and then I'll write a story about um, corporate America. But at that point, I've been living that lifestyle for the 5 10 years, whatever the case is. When if I do end up writing that book, but I did a lot of the research, and I know a lot of things would come naturally when I'm writing it. But then when you're making something like a fantasy novel like this, it kind of gets really really convoluted, because I find that writers in general are basically just like functioning schizos, because you have to make a character, you got to get their motive, and you got to have so much empathy for that character, because you got to embody that character, and you got to write how they would talk, you got to write how they would like act, you have to write how they would be when they're next to this person, and how would that person act when they're next to this person. And it's a lot of like made up situations, and I'm almost certain there's going to be so many moments in here where we flesh out a character, and we outline, we do this for like the next year or two. We're outlining characters, and we're making relationship, graphs. We're making all this stuff. And then when I actually start writing the book, they'll probably have, um, like 5 words in the book. And then they're shown like once, and they have like a slight conversation with someone. But that's kind of the beauty of what I'm trying to like create here, where you'll know as the viewer of the book, like my kids watch this thing called video books. It's like VOOK. They're video books, and people just read them. So this is kind of like a similar thing, where instead of a video book where I'm reading the book to you in a video, I'm actually writing the book, and you kind of get um, you get an introduction, and you get like a deeper understanding of how the characters are and why they're acting that way, or who this random person was in the scene. But then my hope is, you like the YouTube channel, you like the way that it's moving, and you like the book to recommend it to someone. So when they're reading the book, they're like, yeah, that's like a one-off character, whatever. But then you kind of have a deeper understanding of that one-off character. You're like, yeah, it was like he was in there for 1 page, but Frank spent spent 15 hours or whatever, spent like a whole YouTube video, and on outlining that person and like what his motives are and why he's doing this. And I'm doing it this way because I find that I read a lot of books, or when I used to read a lot of books, and when those books weren't, you know, the type of books that I'm reading, like kind of like self-help books and informational books, when it was more about like the story of the book, I would find like a character where I'm like, well, what, why the fuck did he do that? Like, mind my language. Like, why would that person do that? Look, why did this person do this? Like, let's say I've read the Harry Potter books in a while, but there's always when they first introduced Malfoy, you kind of just have like his basic conversations with Harry and the gang, and you can tell like, oh, he's gonna be an antagonist, blah blah blah, and you kind of just know him as like the rich kid. But then later on, his character gets fleshed out more, and you're like, holy shit, like yeah, he had like a really shitty background. His his family is in that type of lifestyle, and is it really the child's fault? And like Snape saves him, and he has redemption, he has all this. But J.K. Rowling could have written all of that in the beginning, and you only saw you know him as an individual, and then you saw what he turned into, his natural progression. But while going through his natural progression, you could have seen his background story like pre-written. You could tell like, okay, his family is gonna be Death Eaters. His mom and dad are gonna be high-ranking Death Eater in the Death Eater society. They're high-ranking, and he has a lot of expectations. And in the background, it's been the works for him to go to Hogwarts to infiltrate and then like assassinate Dumbledore, right? Like that was his penultimate purpose, is to assassinate Dumbledore. But we didn't know that until books and years later. And maybe she didn't even plan that until that's just like how he naturally progresses. And that happens when the more you write about a character, the more you um they get longer into the series, then you kind of have to flesh them out. But if he just died in book one, then all you know him as like a fucking shitty ass kid. Like, he's just a shitty ass kid that was being a bully. He's being a dickhead. He's doing this, and you might not have ever gotten his backstory. But now, when you're reading this or you're watching this, like you'll know what these people's backstories are. And when you recommend a book to someone, you can like yeah, my favorite character is this, and this is like all the information that I can show you. If you like that character, maybe your friend be like, oh, I really love this character. I wish I could like learn more about this, or I love this setting. I wonder how he did. There's like so many little things that just pop up, and I'm like, I wonder what were they thinking when they did this? Like, like when you really find an author that you really love, and you really want to understand their thought process or their how they work, and all you see are like interviews with people where they ask like, oh man, how much do you make, how many books did you sell, what were you thinking 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I can't fucking remember what I ate 2 weeks ago for lunch. Don't expect me to learn or to remember why I wrote this person like this. But now I can do that. Like new authors and new progressing people that are creating can now kind of just highlight their process. Like this is, I do believe like this could be the future. Like this type of methodology where people understand you and your business and your practice and how you are. Because like when you're YouTubing, they say you wear multiple hats, blah blah blah, and you're your own CEO. It's a business venture that you're doing by yourself. You become an entrepreneur. You do all these things, right? And you see so many people kind of like fail, or you see people like pass, and then all you see are like the videos that they're making, but they don't really, when you want to go deeper into their process and how they do certain things, and all you get are one-off interviews where they're asking questions that are 10 years later. Because now that these people have success, now people want to understand what they're doing. But were they, were they putting all that information back, right? Like when Mr. Beast makes a YouTube video, does he kind of like show you, this is how I made this YouTube, like behind the scenes, like this is how I made this YouTube video, and this is how I did this. And you could say like, oh, that's kind of boring, but that's like something for someone, right? Like maybe people that read my book only want to see the book and the final product, and that's fine. Like if they read the book and all they read, cool. But then there are people that are gonna read the book and they're gonna have the same thought, or people that find the book via finding this video, and if they're already looking for this type of video, then they probably want to have a deeper understanding of the person that they're looking into. Okay, that kind of went on like a tangent, and I lost my train of thought a few times. But I guess like a closer to that is that I just want to be able to go back myself and understand what I was thinking when I was creating this character, because I want the series to be long lasting. So I'm already expecting the book to be 3 books, but then I'm also expecting a companion series to be like 2 to 3 books. And then on top of that, I'm gonna have like maybe a potentially a third companion series. And then there's also like the inception of this, like my whole thought of like how this all ties up. And I find that I only really want to write, like I have a lot of like plans and stories that are in my head that I want to like put on paper. But then I noticed that, these like 7, 8 books that all are within like the same universe. Like I keep wanting to write them, and that's maybe because I've watched so much anime, or maybe I watched so many um what's it called, like the Avengers, where the shared universes. Maybe that because that's what was popular as like I was growing up. It's like that's what I want to write about. Like who knows, but if I was cataloging that, then we would be like a different space now. But like now I'm cataloging this, so now we can expand on this, and this is like what I've chosen as kind of my retirement, if that makes sense. So like I can work in corporate America for the rest of my life, and I'd be fine with that. And I like my job. I like what I do. I like negotiating. I like um getting deals, and like that's all fun. Um, but what I want to do, I find that I have a lot of hobbies where I like to paint. I like to watch YouTube. I'm like really into YouTube watching, and like how the YouTube process works. I think it's just really cool. Um, I like that it's like a business that you can do at home. Um, I like painting, and I like writing books, and I like creating. And I think as I grown to do those things more often and to like relieve stress, I started to realize like, okay, this is what I want to do, and when I am doing it, I want to be able to share this with like my grandkids. But then they're gonna ask me like, "Oh, grandpa, how did you make that?" Like there's a right there, right? Like when I hang this up, 20 years from now, I have like one painting that I just love that I hang up, and I wish I painted it like 5 years ago, and I wish like I could really remember the moments that I was painting it, and um, what I was thinking, or what was going through my mind when those happened. But things happen. Your memory gets filled with other things, and you forget certain things. That's fine. Like that's just the natural progression of life. But then now we have technology, and we kind of bookmark certain things that we want. We can kind of showcase, highlight, and be able to show the past state and the future state via this, right? This is we can be in the present, but be able to see the past, and plan for the future. Like it's amazing, and I want to be able to show like my kids, how did I write this book? What was the process? What took me so long? What did I gain? What did I glean from doing all this? What can they glean from this if they watch this? When they watch this, what can they understand from my process? And in the next 10, 15 years, what does this channel look like? Do I own a corporation? What does that corporation look like? And it's amazing to me that all that could happen if I just keep continue to do this, right? If I only gain, you know, small monetary value, or maybe I only have 10,000 subscribers in the next 10 years, but there's still 10,000 people that is reading your book, or is looking at your painting, or is doing certain things. And even within those 10,000 people, there's going to be, 50 family members that are maybe not next to me right now, but they want to see like what I'm up to. And I think that's like super cool. And 20 years from now, the my family's family are gonna be able to see this, and they can be like, "Grandpa, I watched your YouTube video when you were, when you when you were 30 years old. How did you do that when you were 30, and now you're 60, blah blah blah, like 30 years later type stuff." And like, I don't know, it's just cool. And I know I just spent 20 minutes not writing the book, but um, that's been on my mind, kind of just to explain or further emphasize like why I'm doing this. And the ability to, I do watch a lot of videos, and the ability for me as an individual to craft whatever type of video I want to, um, kind of put out what type of information I want, to be able to cater to, if I do get an audience. I think that's cool. um, Kind of just the freedom to do whatever I want. Even though, in YouTube there is a game. You can play the game in YouTube, and I think that game is super cool, and I've tried it and I failed at it. And I think there's no shame in saying that you failed at becoming a YouTuber. And sometimes people just aren't YouTubers, and that's fine. Like, maybe I'm not a YouTuber. Maybe I'm not a writer, maybe I'm not a painter. But I am me, and as long as like you're being yourself, and you are doing it for like your reason, whatever your reason is, and you're doing it for that reason, it you can't fail. Like, there's no failing when you're doing it for you. Really, the only failure, and I don't really think it's a failure because I've done it so many times, is stopping. But the problem with words is that most words have an opposite, right? So if I start, at some point I have to stop. Then I would have never just started. It'd just be being, like, doing. And whenever you stop, you have the ability to start because you stopped in the first place. So I don't think that's like a failure. I think that's just you learning that you might not want to do whatever that thing you're doing in the first place. And the people that are gonna kind of watch the full video, or the just me rambling on here, are the people that like really that I want to see this, because those are the people that want to be in your ecosystem, and kind of, either grow with you or learn from you, or kind of just admire you. And I think, well, that's fucking cool. Because I admire, and I glean a lot of things from other YouTubers, and this is kind of just my way of giving back. I might not be earning money, or right now I'm not really educating anyone. Like, I'm just kind of doing like a weekly diary of my thoughts and how to like write this book. But at some point it could progress, and like right now, how would I have ever learned to do the OBS settings for this mic? How would I have ever like known that, if not for what I'm doing now? And this situation led me to look up how to make this mic better. And now, if my children ever ask me, your grandpa, dad, like, how did you do this? And YouTube it, Google it. This is what I watched, and this is what I did. And I don't know, I think I'm doing this because there's a lot of moments with my parents that I ask them questions like, "Oh man, what was it like when you're doing this? What was it like when you were working here? What was it like when you were this age?" And a lot of them can't really. A lot, like, I have like 10 parents. My parents can't really explain a lot of situations. Maybe they don't want to, of course. And a lot of like knowledge that they have, they're so proficient at it. It's hard for them to explain it in a beginner sense. So now you're seeing me in the most, you know, kind of starting point that an individual can have besides starting this at like 14 and you know, like Mr. Beast and progressing till 10 years later, you're 24 and you're fucking hamming shit out. But right now, um, you know, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm doing it, and I hope you guys learn something from it. And I'm definitely not cutting this down, and I'm just gonna start typing now because spoke for 25 minutes and I probably didn't say anything. But you can only get better. Like this is gonna help me with my train of thought and you know my ability to speak and to have a cohesive thought put out to the world because that's like super important. That's very important for writing a book. Like being able to kind of say your thoughts out loud can lead to being able to write, right? Like a lot of people, well, I don't want to generalize. Me, my thought process is I need to do or I won't do. And anytime I'm not doing, I find ways to not do it even more. So right now, even though I'm saying I'm gonna write this, I found a way to talk for 27 minutes and not write a single thing. And this will, to me, when I watch this later, this will highlight to me that, you know, sometimes I'm too good at talking about nothing and I need to put it down on paper. And so it can be something. So I can erase the nothing. It's crazy, right? You erase the nothing, put something on it. All right, let's just go back to um background of 100 years of reign, one wish, three families, Sun family. Once the Moon family die. Okay, this is like a good outline. Could be the Moon mom. She's Moon daughters born. The main characters. Should we flesh out the main character? What did I say we were gonna flesh out today? Oh, look at that. I'm gonna pull up my video.
Going ding.
Cause I can't remember. So 3. Oh my god. Hi kids, what's up? Okay, so I haven't meant what do we got here? Do they save the mom? Two Tide Cities. Does she die? The background noise always fucking kills me. Slash overthrow. World ruling. Wait, perfect timing. Baby just woke up. So we're like going over ruling. Yeah. Does she die? Does the daughter meet her dad? What did they learn about the prophecy? What motivation does she have to continue the prophecy? Realize it. Overthrow current world ruling. Why did the other two want help? Why did the other families want them dead? I mean, we were kind of going over. Let's. I had this thought of what if the moon daughter and the sun daughter, right? This is from like a third family, were switched at birth, and even though, like, what, you know, what if? How would they even be switched at birth? I don't know. How do we connect these two? So the son daughter, that's so fucking confusing. We gotta give them names, but that might be too hard. So the mom had a birthmark that marked her as the moon daughter, right? Like that's what I wrote in one of these. Excuse me. Where is it? Where's Moon Mom? Outline. Outline is ass, but Oklahoma cities. Yeah, this is gonna get hella confusing. Okay. Cause like how are we gonna know that she's the Moon Mom? What kind of birth? It's like a big ass go Avatar. Right? She has a big ass moon on the back of her or the front of her head. What would be a cool kind of signifier? I was thinking also colored eyes. Maybe their eyes glow a certain way when the moment happens. That could be like that would be like a book 3 kind of situation. Like if their eyes only change colors when the wishing is about to happen, which like allows them to have the wish. I mean, we could have like a fate night situation where it's not the wishing moment could be like whoever the representatives are still alive. So we could do since we'll like because we want the usurper, the betrayer, and the ruler. Look, those are the three. We have that. Put that down. Usurper. Yeah. Usurper, betrayer, helper. So the usurper is the moon, betrayer is the sun, and the helper is the tide. Okay, we got a good concept, but how are we going to put it down here? I'm thinking that that's like a super final state, though. Eyes glow. So the sun daughter is the betrayer. So this is gonna be the title like moving in like the prophecy. This will be the titles, but they're gonna label the moon daughter as the usurper because she's supposedly trying to usurp the sun kingdom, and the sun daughter is the betrayer. She'll be a betrayer regardless because she's helping. Uh, like there she's from the cast of the Sun family. Now, why do they want to help? I don't know. Maybe they were like the betraying family this entire time, like from eons ago. The original betrayers, second oldest family. So we gotta remember that. Well, we're gonna treat them as like the individual that they are, and then the switch part is literally is gonna be like just one moment in the book, kind of at the end, and that should somehow explain like if we're gonna do like a switch like that, this needs to explain. Nope, what the hell? Needs to explain something. Needs to explain a mystery that has been plaguing. So we need to like engineer a mystery that's plaguing the book. You know, it could be like her mannerism is like maybe when I'm thinking like book 1, they save the mom and maybe she like joins them, you know. What did I say? I think I said that they meet their mom. Or was that supposed to be like the middle? Moon daughter. Married to sun family 3 domain. Capturing chasing. What's happening? Yeah. So I'm thinking they could save the mom at the end. They meet the sun dad, who is from the oldest family. What if we reveal at the end of the book that they think that the original moon people, like the original moon mom, was the original sun mom? So this this could be kind of just like a royal story about one family, essentially. Like they think it's like two separate family. So like it could. So book one could be all about kind of like hashing out the mystery of the family, and then book two or the end of book one, it's revealed that it's just one family. End of book one reveal. Could save the mom. End of book one reveal is that one family. But then what happens? That's kind of like when the war would start, right? Then that's when people need to start joining factions. Set up for war in book three. Recruiting of Tide nations. Like maybe there's like nations within the Tide, like people that could help them. Recruiting of Tide nations and other other sun families. The setup for war in book three. This is for book two. Kinda quick blurf of book two. Set up for war in book three, between Tide nations and their sun families. Mini wars and deaths in between. Like infighting. Maybe it's not even like a war. It could just be like, this is what I'm talking about. Like where we need to like flesh out characters and nations and shit and motives. But we're definitely gonna be basing a lot of the shit off of what we know now. It's hard to fully invent drama and make it intriguing. So what we're gonna do is base a lot of it off either historic nations or shit, maybe even current nations that might become historic, moving forward as we progress the story. Like one of them could be about Crimea and Donbass and Ukraine and that situation, and we could flip those into um, a Sun family and that is fighting a Tide nation. Whatever. Like this is just a place, a world that is in constant strife, and there is one ruling family, and people know who that ruling family is. So we go back to what I was talking about with Lelouch. We know who Britannica is. Like we need to know who Britannica is, and we need to know why everyone hates them, why people aren't joining up together. How did they separate everyone so bad? What were their wishes? How long has I should be writing all this shit down. How long? I mean, I just rewatched it, but how long has the nation been around? And like there's so many things that needs to just be fleshed out. But right now, what we're doing is we're floundering, and we're allowed to flounder. We're allowed to pull shit out of the ether. We're allowed to kind of just at least get the thoughts on video. And right now, this is where my mind is going. Like it's we're thinking about what's in the middle of book one. So book one, rehash. Where introduction, um, very grounded, small introduction to the family. We want to show that it is a journey and there is kind of a level of mystery and like freshness. Like, we need to introduce places that our main characters has never been before, and some of the other characters have been, and they're introducing all this stuff and all this knowledge and experience of this individual that we need to like make up. And that's all in book one, and it's all like rosy, and but there is like you see that darker outlining at the very end of what's like supposed to happen. And I mean, you kind of get to it in the middle where her mother gets abducted, and even deeper you get to it in the beginning. You see that they shouldn't have been like living like this. So book one, we got the intro, the intro at the beginning, the middle, like action part of her getting captured, whatever the case is. So book one, outline, another outline. Intro, inception of daughter. That's probably two places to flush out where mom was and dad was. One family to flesh out, one son family to flesh out, one Tide village to flesh out. How many characters are in here? We have the mom, dad. Could have the dad's dad. We got the mom plus dad plus dad's dad. Mom, priest for the prophecy, whatever they're called. These are like main characters, and then side characters could be. So we want to flesh out like 4 plus 5 plus. He's definitely gonna die in the beginning, right? Early he dies. Mom, guardian, dad's dad, mom. Priest flesh out, and we got the Tide village, the Sun family. That's pretty good. And then we could do beginning spell. Could be 16 years of going like quickly, go through it. The 16 years of growing up. Flesh out daughter, her Tide friend. Flesh out moon daughter. Sun daughter. These are like the characters. Meeting of people. Abrupt conflict. What is a conflict? What is a solution? What does it lead to? Consequence. So conflict, solution, consequence. Beginning, 16 years going up. Flesh out moon daughter and her Tide friend. Flesh out sun daughter family. Sun fam 2. Sun fam. And this will be sun fam 1. Sun fam 1. We're going to flesh out Tide Nation, so maybe they moved from like the village to time in 16 years. I'm gonna flesh out second and third son family. I want to flush out family nation. So that's like whole nation there. Flush out second and third son family. Third one is I don't remember which one was the. I think the second one was the betrayer, right? Son. Yeah, so we're gonna have the retriever, which is gonna be family 3. This is the son daughter. Mom kidnappers. The mom nappers. Okay. Shout. Moon daughter, one tide nation. Flesh out second sun nation. No, what about third? We don't. Let's not flesh out the sun daughter yet. Flesh out third sun nation. What's next? Middle. What is the conflict here, though? Journey. This could be where mom gets abducted, right? Son daughters, bam. Middle journey. Aftermath of abduction. Meeting of moon plus tide with sun daughter. Plan to rescue mom. Flesh out journey path. Flesh out who they. Yeah, flesh out journey. Flesh out third sun family nation, because that's where the sun dad's gonna be. What could be in the middle? Conflict, consequences, solutions. Let's see. Aftermath of abduction, meeting moon and tide, sun daughter, rescue mom, journey. What else? What else would they be doing here? Maybe training arc. How do they get stronger? And this one, excuse me. Oh God, excuse me. I'm so sorry. This one is ending, right? Last half of the arc. 4 parts here: intro, beginning, middle, and ending. What happens to mom? Introduce dad. So flush out dad. Something could happen. Maybe the beginning. Guardian dies. Meet new members. Ending. Flush out dad. What happens to mom? The ending is always tough. Flush out dad. Fight scene. Happens to mom. Alright, because they we introduce them, how they get born, how they get made. They have a okay life. They need to questions on why this is, because like why they're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on, and then the answers are here. there's probably gonna be a time skip in book two. You know, like there just has to be. She's gonna be maybe 17 by the end of book one. Like let's say like a year or two passes, like she's like 18. Maybe we'll make her like 20, 21 in book two, because then she kind of has to like start becoming a leader. Think of like Hunger Games type shit. You know, that you know, it's similar pacing and scale to Hunger Games, but in in Hunger Games, it was a lot of um poverty versus rich dilemma, and this one is more about tyranny and freedom. And you know, they didn't have as, you know, they were being tyrannical in Hunger Games, but I see that story more about kind of, I mean, like, you know, of its namesake, the actual game and the procedures of the game, the consequences of the game. They went, you know, they went a little bit more in depth of how the people, how the people are affected with regards to, you know, the how the games affect them. And you know, there's like the districts that lose get the least amount of money, and lost my train of thought. But this one is mainly not, one, it doesn't have a game. It might, you know, we might take that as an inspiration to incorporate it into one of the nations. I don't know, but I want it to have a similar level of scope to Hunger Games of how it went from, you know, introducing cat. I mean, this is kind of how most things are panned out. Like you go from Lord of the Rings, you go from Game of Thrones, like I mentioned, to Harry Potter. It's always humble beginnings, right? No one really is taken from privilege and then put into a humble beginning, because that's, I mean, that's kind of what she did with Harry Potter. And it was like, you know, the twist that who his dad was and who his mom was, and what they were doing with Voldemort, and why Harry was being chased the whole time. That's like a great payoff. And that's what I want to mimic. I want to mimic that great payoff. But the way the story in my mind is structured is that the great payoff is gonna get abruptly taken away. So the great payoff is still gonna be there, but there's gonna be um a polarizing factor that we need to add at the end. Because every time, you know, a book happens and people don't like the ending, they always say like, "Oh, that's like a cop out," and that's why they did this ending, because they couldn't think of like a better one, blah blah blah. But right now, you'll know. Like, this is the fourth episode. I'm probably gonna stop because everyone's gonna start yelling. But the ending has to relate to book one, and book one, as I already said, is grounded in base reality, and this is a sci-fi novel, and the next one is also gonna be sci-fi. And you know, I mean, this is gonna be fantasy, but the next one is gonna be sci-fi futuristic, and all of them have to be brought back through this book, this mysterious book that I'm doing. And I think the payoff is tremendous, and I can't wait to get there. So that's why, you know, I want to have this journey with everyone, and write the book and go through making this better and actually getting focused, because the the ending that I thought of, the original book, can only make sense if I write every other book that goes to the original book, which kind of, so I can't release, or I can't, like, I'm gonna keep writing the original book, but, and that's like the book that I want to write, but everything about that book just doesn't add up unless all these other fractional stories happen, and each fractional story is like a 10-year journey. So I don't want to just write. I'm not trying to be a writer. I'm trying to just tell this one specific story, and to tell this one specific story, I need to write coincidentally 50 other books. Kind of sucks, but you'll see in 30 years what I'm talking about, and hopefully go back to this. I probably thinking about this shit 30 years ago. It just happens, you know. So I'll talk to you guys later. Good hour, 30 minutes of nonsense and then 20 minutes of writing. That's about what you should expect from this. Bye, guys. Talk to you kids later. Enjoy your company here in IRL.